Good afternoon. It is News Radio 1029 KARN. I am your host, Brad Schmidt. It is great to be back in the chair after, almost a week off. I had a 5-day weekend this last weekend. I took Thursday and Friday off and ended up taking Monday off, of course, as well for Labor Day. And so a little bit of rest and relaxation and back on the trail now and ready to get back to work. As we kick things off today, of course, there's a lot to talk about, as there always is, right? We can talk about the Venezuelan gangs taking over apartments in Colorado, spies in the New York governor's office, Chinese spies in the New York governor's office. Just recently in the last, I don't know, a couple hours or last 24 hours or whatever, the Nashville Shooters Manifesto has been released, and so there's a lot to get to today, a lot to talk about. But I want to just take a quick moment to share a little bit of a personal story, something that I've been kind of working through in my own personal life, and wanted to kind of share it with all of you, because I've always kind of been an open book as a radio host, and have always just been kind of honest and done the best I could to let you know and keep you informed as to what's going on, not only in the world of politics, but with me as your hopefully favorite radio host. So I've shared back in May, I don't know if any of you remember this, I had a fairly significant struggle with shingles. I was diagnosed with shingles back in May. I believe it was like the 26th or something like that of May. I ended up in the emergency room on the 22nd of May, and I only remember that because it's my wife's birthday. So I remember ending up in the hospital on the night of my wife's birthday, while my son was actually down here visiting with his girlfriend. And in that, what I thought was going on was that I had kidney stones. That's what I thought it was. And so when I got to the emergency room, they thought that's what it was, because they just took my word for it. They did a CT scan and didn't find any kidney stones. And was actually only a couple of days later that we finally figured out, I should say, that it was shingles. But in that CT scan, they found a structure. They called it a pedunculated structure on my kidney. It was a 2.5 centimeter mass on my left kidney, and it was on the opposite side that I was having the pain, so they weren't sure really what was going on there. So over the last 3 months-ish, so May, almost now 3.5 months, late May into early September here. So on Thursday, one of the days I was off last week, and wasn't the reason I took the day off, but last Thursday evening, I had an MRI finally, after fighting with insurance companies and all of that. I got an MRI done, and they scanned this area on my kidney. And they found in the MRI scan, what was concern was that it could potentially be cancer. And so that was why they did the MRI. So I got a phone call this morning from the doctor, and he said, "Congratulations, nothing to worry about. It's nothing more than a benign cyst. You don't need to have any more scans. You don't have to have any more x-rays or any of that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about anything. It's not going to cause any sort of like kidney infections or any sort of trouble. It'll just be there basically for the rest of your life and not cause any trouble. So don't worry about it." So that was very relieving to hear, that after 3 months of thinking that I could potentially be looking to fight cancer, to find out that I am absolutely not fighting cancer and I'm perfectly healthy. And I wanted to share that because it's a huge relief for me to obviously to be told that, no, it's not cancer, nothing to worry about. You're perfectly healthy. Go on living your life as normal. So, so huge relief for me, and I'm very excited to hear the positive answer from the doctor this morning. He called me at about 7 a.m. So they were on top of it first thing in the morning after the long weekend. And so very good news, and glad to be kind of on the other side of that now, and not have to worry about any of that. So I wanted to share that with you and share that with all of you. I've shared it obviously with my friends and family, and they all know about it first, but wanted to share that information with you, the listener. So good news on that side. And now let's get into all of the things that we do need to talk about. Let's talk about what you ought to know. So one of the things, of course, that you ought to know, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, the Nashville shooters full manifesto has been released. So back in March of 2023, of course, the Nashville shooter, her name was Audrey Hale. She's a 28-year-old self-described transgender man. Of course, really, she's a woman who went by the pronouns of he and him and didn't really change her gender. That just was the words that she used. And so she went into a Christian school in Nashville and began murdering people. She ended up killing 6 people, 3 children, I believe, and 3 adults, and was then dispatched handily by police officers who arrived on scene and taken care of. And so her manifesto, though, has been kept private. I don't know if it was the sheriff's department or the police department or whoever was in charge of that as far as evidence goes. They were preventing it from being released. Well, after months and months and months of court fights and legal battles, the Nashville Star, which is obviously a newspaper or news organization in Nashville. I'm sorry, not the Nashville Star, the Tennessee Star, a news organization in Nashville. They've been fighting that. They've been suing the government to force its release, and they got it out. They got the release. They won the court case, and it has been released as of today. And it's actually worse than you thought. The cover-up that has been going on to try to hide this person and hide their crazy from the public is it's actually worse than you thought because of the information in this manifesto. Now, the reason it's worse than you thought is not necessarily because there's disturbing information in there, and certainly there is. There's no, as far as I can tell, and I haven't read through every single bit of it. You can download it and you can see the information yourself if you want. But there's no like plans that any other shooters could have used to copycat her or anything like that. And so a lot of the lies that we were told about it have proven to be untrue. But the bigger discussion here, I think, in some of this is that there has been a significant uptick in violence being committed by folks who are mentally ill, and specifically mentally ill with gender dysphoria issues. And so there needs to be a discussion about this. We need to start talking about, is it possible that our current approach to gender dysphoria, transgender issues, and things like that is not the most effective approach in dealing with this? We've not seen any reduction in suicide numbers among people who are engaged in such lifestyles. We've not seen any sort of move in a positive direction in outcomes for anyone on this gender dysphoria scale or spectrum or whatever you want to call it. And so this, I think, illustrates a need to start having some more difficult conversations that are certainly going to be uncomfortable. Things are certainly going to be said that may be regretted later. Things are certainly going to be talked about that are going to make people uncomfortable, and it's going to feel awkward, and feelings are going to be hurt and things like that. But those discussions, I think, need to be had so that there can be a more healthy, long-term positive outcome in these discussions. So that We'll get into that today. We'll talk a little bit more about the apparently the apparent spy within the New York governor's office, Chinese spy in the New York governor's office, and of course in Colorado, illegal immigration and the Venezuelan gangs overrunning communities, becoming a pretty significant problem. That, and what about being late? This is a totally off the wall discussion, but I ran across a tweet the other day. It said, "I've been told that I am unreasonable about expecting others to be on time." So what is the acceptable limit? If you're waiting for someone, if you've scheduled an appointment, a coffee date or a lunch appointment or something like that, what is the limit for you? How long do you wait around before you just go, yeah, they're not coming, I'm taking off? So we'll get into that and a whole lot more as we continue with the Schmidt Show next on News Radio 102.9 KARN.